Hey, folks, welcome into another edition of In the Booth with Earl Hall. So, what does it take to become a voiceover artist on a documentary that shows on Amazon Prime? Let's talk about it. So, the big question is this: how do voiceover artists like us who are looking to take our careers to the next level, but don't buy into the claims of needing expensive equipment and demos, start bringing in new clients? How do you follow a clear path to changing your voiceover side hustle into your full-time job and stick it to those that said you couldn't? Those are the questions, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Earl Hall, and welcome to In the Booth with Earl Hall, where we know how to grind and don't quit. Hey, folks, and welcome into this special edition of In the Booth with Earl Hall. I've got special guest here with me on screen, Cyrus Webb. Many of you may know Cyrus Webb already. He's a great friend of mine. He is an outstanding talk show host with his show Conversations Live. He interviews celebrities, A-list celebrities, B-list celebrities, actors, authors, artists, singers, performers, the whole nine yards, and is one of the top 200 Amazon reviewers at this point. You know, Cyrus, today we're going to be talking about your stint into the voiceover realm. Tell us a little bit, one, about how you got involved with this particular film, this particular film from Jim to James Crow.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Earl. I appreciate the opportunity. The project from Jim to James Crow actually came to me because a friend of mine, Omega Keys, who is an author as well as a filmmaker, she was producing this project. She lives in Atlanta, and she asked me about being the narrator, being the voice of it. And I had never done it before, so it was a brand new opportunity, but it was definitely something I was excited to try.
Well, coming from, with your background, you've been in this thing for over 15 years now, I believe, especially with Conversations Live, starting out in radio and just building this enterprise that is completely amazing. Tell us a little bit about what that journey has been like for you, starting from 15 years ago, having this hit talk show on Blog Talk Radio, Spreaker, and other places. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how it's influenced what you're able to do with your first voiceover gig.
Right. Well, because and it's funny you mentioned that, because that's exactly how Omega and I initially met. As you said, I've been privileged to be able to host Conversations Live now for 15 years. She's been a guest on that program several times, even came here to my home state of Mississippi. I hosted a book signing for her, but we both connected because of Conversations Live. So I think that the great thing for me about hosting this program, Earl, has been the fact that not only have I been able to showcase great talent, as you mentioned, among them been many celebrities, but definitely been able to have conversations that we have not always been able to have.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really been a privilege for me. So over the years, whether it's through the radio dial here in Mississippi or through Blog Talk Radio, as you mentioned, and other platforms, it's been great for me to be able to not only to introduce these voices, but also to share my own gift, which is to me the gift of conversation. I love people. I love being able to chat about things that matter to me and matter to others. And I'm glad that there's been an audience for that. And that's what I believe these 15 years have shown.
When you were initially, offered this gig, to basically be the Morgan Freeman of this entire documentary here,
Right.
Had you ever thought about voiceover in particular, or had you seen what you've been able to do thus far in your own career as something that is akin to voiceover? Had you even thought about it?
I had not. And it's funny because many people, I think, thought that would be the natural progression for me.
Okay.
But for me, I think when I was hosting the radio show, which I never intended to host in the first place, I never thought about radio before 2003. But I think that the thing for me that was an honor was that people felt as though, for one thing, I could do it. That meant a lot. I had done some acting before, nothing major, but I had been in an independent film, and then I did a cameo as myself for another project. But acting I've never considered myself an actor. And even now, to be quite honest with you, even though I've done this and I know I'm a narrator now, I guess officially,
Yeah.
it's something that I kind of just think about as I'm a narrator. think, I had this opportunity to be a part of this. And I have to be honest with you, Earl, and I haven't told anyone else this, would I think about doing this again? If asked, I have not thought about just actively pursuing it. But anyone who thinks that I'm a good fit for something like this, hey, I'm more than willing to take up the challenge.
And that's amazing because I mean, even as I watched, watch the documentary myself, which is an outstanding documentary from Jim to James Crow. It goes through a lot of obviously African American history and what African Americans, suffered and are suffering continually today. When you think about the fact that you are this voice of this film and it is there forever, what kind of thoughts go through your mind about that?
Wow. Seriously, when I think of Amazon for myself, of course, as you know, I think about my reviews and my books. That was really the extent of it. When I first saw that the film was on Amazon, and she had told me it was going to be on Amazon, when I first saw it and it said starring Cyrus Webb, that was a big deal for me. I had seen the posters promoting it saying narrated by or narration by Cyrus Webb. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so I was kind of prepared for that. But the starring me, that was something that was totally new. Because I do, as you said, Amazon's a major platform. And so to be able to now, when people put in my name, and not only do they see my reviews and see books, but see this documentary, to me, that's a huge honor.
Definitely it is. Was there any sort of special preparation that you had to go through, or did you just kind of, boom, jump into it and start the narrating process?
Well, I had questions for Amiga. First of all, what do I do? Because again, this was something totally different for me. And, she was one thing that I had to help me out. And I'm sure this is the case for other people who are doing work like this, is she had basically done little dummy takes of scenes to kind of give me an idea of the cadence, the emotion that she was looking for certain places. That was a great guide for me, but she really just wanted me to be me. She wanted me to bring me to it. And so that made it a lot easier because I've kind of learned how to do me,
over the years.
So, that definitely made it easy, but to be able to have that as a guide to say, okay, what are you looking for here? What type of, because there were some scenes, and I think I mentioned this to you, I had to do a few retakes on because she's like, hey, that's not quite the emotion we're looking for. It's not quite the, the cadence we're looking for this. Can you redo this and kind of do it like this? And so having that direction from her meant a lot to me. And I think for anyone who's doing a project like this, having clear direction is a must.
Absolutely. And you brought up a key point here as well, as about being yourself. It's one of those things that for those of us that are in the voiceover industry, a lot of us initially struggle with that. Just being ourselves. As soon as we get behind that microphone, we turn into a voice actor and, we start trying to sound a certain type of way. Did you struggle with that at all when kind of, as they say, when the lights come on? Did you struggle with that at all?
I have to, and I'm not, being, overly modest with this, but I didn't, only because it's so funny when I meet people and I start talking.
Yeah.
The thing that says, you sound just like you sound on the radio. And I'm like, well, this is just how I sound. This is how I talk. It's nothing that I try to do. And I think that, again, what you asked me earlier about the 15 years, I think that's been the key. It's not like I'm putting on, it's not a character for me. This is,
right.
From our conversations, when I'm excited about something and passionate about something, it just comes through. And I think that's what happens for me. So no, that wasn't a problem. I think if I was used to putting on or having a front, I think that probably would have made this more difficult. But because I was just being Cyrus Webb, that definitely made it a whole lot easier for me.
That's great. One of the things that, and we watch each other's shows or listen to each other's shows, and we have our, what we call, the morning conversations. The morning car conversations on my way into studio a lot. And, so you've heard me talk about audio quality and microphones and things of that nature. So we're getting to get real funny. We're about to get real funny right now with all of this. And so you've heard me talk about, from a voice actor's perspective, like the type of gear, the type of microphones, audio processing, and things like that. I want you, and this is for everybody in the voiceover industry. You're looking right now at Cyrus Webb, a person that has done a major documentary that is airing on Amazon Prime. And I'm going to put the links in the description so everyone can go watch that. And we're going to have links that you can connect with Cyrus as well. Cyrus, I want you to hold up the microphone that you used to do this documentary.
Now, before I do this, Earl, I would just make you and our friends. I don't want you to be jealous. I don't want you to be jealous. And I also don't want the fact that I have this microphone to take anything away. Do you promise me that part?
Okay, I'll be okay. I'll be okay with it.
Here is my microphone. This is it. I mean, I want you all to take in all the glory of it. It's amazing. Don't fall out. I mean, I just want you all to take this in, get a good look at it. This is where the magic happens, baby.
We have had so many conversations, and we lovingly and affectionately call it the blue mic, right, when we talk about it and discuss it. And this now, the sound quality of the mic, which I've heard, is very good sound quality. Obviously, it is not one that I would suggest people use to do a major documentary. But when you have audio producers that are able to take the sound and do whatever, but it does actually have pretty decent sound from that mic that I've heard. And you use this mic every day in your broadcasts and things of that nature on Spreaker and on Blog Talk Radio, of course. And I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit because so many voice actors, especially in the beginning, they stress out over buying a really expensive mic when with the USB technology that's out there right now and the quality that can come from some of these less expensive microphones or non-standard voiceover microphones, it could be a good entryway for people to start practicing, start doing things, and then as they get better or whatever, then they can upgrade their gear, you know. But I will never forget when you got that mic. You were so excited.
I was.
And still are about about that microphone and the quality of it. Tell us a little bit about how you got the mic. I know how you got the mic, but I want the backstory about how it all happened with you.
Sure. Well, as you say, you know, I was very excited about this mic. I've been, of course, using this mic now for almost a year. Now, the company reached out to me about, as you have had happen to you, Earl, and said, hey, we have this microphone. We'd love for you to try it. It's a USB mic. You know, we think, you might like it. And so I get requests like that all the time, as you know, Earl. And so I went into it, honestly, with very low expectations. And that's just the truth. Yeah. Because I've had other microphones that I have tried out, and I was like, I don't really like this. I don't really like, this. As soon as I smiled, it's like I'm in love. Yeah. I mean, because I plugged it in, and started talking, and I heard it back. Yeah. I'm like, whoa. And it was so big. I'm on the radio here in Mississippi too. And I sent them my daily news segment that I do for them. Right. And the producer actually called me and said, did you get new equipment? I did. He says, it sounds so good. And so you know what that did for me. I was like, whoa, this mic is really good, So that's how it happened. And it's a microphone I've been very comfortable with. I like because it's easy, and I'm a very simple guy. It's very easy. The audio and everything is very easy to adjust on the mic itself. It has a holder for my phone, so as I'm reading script, I can have it right there. And I'm just a simple guy, Earl. So, and you bring up an interesting point too about the difference in what you do and what I do, because now, if this is something that does, quote unquote, take off for me and I end up doing more of it, would I get different equipment? Of course I would. Because this microphone has worked for me in the work that I do every day. Right. And it worked for me when, and I'm sure they did their magic with it when I sent it in for the documentary. But I think, for me, it's good. And it goes to something that someone that both of us follow, Earl, says all the time, Gary Vee. Yes. Just do it. Don't worry about, I don't have this, I don't have that. Just do it and then improve as you go on. Now, I have to disagree with Gary about this. This microphone, is doing great for me. And unless I just have to change for something, I'm going to stick with this particular microphone. It's definitely affordable, less than $30, which to me, I mean, says a whole lot about the quality. And again, as you said, this is what I reach, a lot of listeners with on a daily basis with, and now can reach the world with through this documentary thanks to this microphone.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of the key things is obviously you are a talk show host. This is what you do every day. You just did your 8,000th interview this week. So you're over 8,000 interviews.
Right.
What does that feel? 8,000 interviews in 15 years.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know any talk show host that has done that. But what does that feel like for you?
It feels like a lot, but, well, when you say the number, but then I think for me, and I'm not a big number person. I know I have to keep up with numbers because advertisers want to know people who, who are part of the broadcast and want to, be a part of the broadcast. They like to know that kind of thing. What I think about is, wow, the lives I've touched and the lives that have touched me in that 15 years. That's what I kind of think about.
Yeah.
And it just so happened my 8,000th guest was a guest who had never been on my program, who I've been trying to interview, I should say, for 9 years.
Wow.
Since he got out of prison. I've been trying to interview him. And I had actually hosted him in a book event here in Mississippi. And we were supposed to do the interview in person then. It didn't work out because we got busy with scheduling.
Right.
And so it just so happened, if you believe in things just so happening, that when we did set it up, I looked at the calendar, he was going to be number 8,000. Wow. And so J.M. Benjamin is the best-selling author and filmmaker. He ended up being my 8,000th guest.
Speaking about that, is there a interview or a guest that you've had on, besides me, on Conversations Live that has just been your favorite? Again, not me, but that just really stands out to you?
Earl, since we're taking you out of the equation, that does make but there have been several, but I have to tell you, one of the ones that will probably always be a favorite for me, someone who I believe took a chance on me, and we end up developing a friendship, is Jackie Collins, a New York Times international best-selling author. She didn't need Conversations, but I had been a fan of her work for years, had written her over the years, and next thing I know, I get an email from our publicist saying, Ms. Collins would like to come on your show.
Wow.
And she came on not once, but 5 times.
Oh, my gosh.
Just a few months before she died. She was on Conversations Live, and we got a chance to meet in person for the first time. And I never will forget, because in my book, she wrote, "Great to finally meet you."
Wow.
And so that will always be sentimental for me. She also was the first New York Times bestselling author to advertise with Conversations Live. I actually advertised her last book, ended up being her last book with my broadcast. And again, that meant so much to me, because to me that meant more than just having her as a guest, but having her as a supporter and a friend.
Yeah. And I can imagine that is huge. And we've had those conversations and about that before. I want to ask you, and this is probably going to be one of the last questions here. What does it feel like to have TV stations like ABC and other networks come to you and ask you to participate in live tweets and show your tweets on air for things like whether it's Scandal, whether it's How to Get Away with Murder, or some of Tyler Perry's shows? Right. What does that feel like when those things happen and you get those requests that come directly to you?
Well, I tell you, I cry every time. And honestly, that's the truth. I mean, I do, because I know how I got here. A lot of people just see where I am today, and they don't realize
that's it.
Where I come from, and how this would seem impossible to happen for someone who came from where I came from with no experience, zero professional experience in broadcasting and any of these things. And someone who, as we were just talking about this today, Earl, who flies by the seat of their pants when it comes to social media and how we do things. I mean, so to have that recognized by these networks, to have those invitations, to have those opportunities, it's quite humbling for me. And I don't take it lightly. And I honestly, don't take it for granted. And I think that's the big thing for me.
Yes.
It's not like I expect it because, I'm Cyrus Webb. Like, who's that to them, you know? But, but for them to personally reach out and to say, hey, we'd like for you to do this. We'd like to use this for this. And one of the big things for me that I will always keep in mind is you and I talked about the big TGIT crossover between Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder.
Oh, yeah.
For them to use my tweet on that during an advertisement for the Roseanne show. Yeah. I mean, that to me is one of the things I will always remember, because that's a big validation. Anytime I feel like, this isn't working or I can't do this, I have that to be able to look at and say, wait a minute, this station saw value in my work. Exactly. So there's no reason why I shouldn't find that same value.
Absolutely. Well, Cyrus, I mean, I've enjoyed this conversation. I definitely want to thank you for coming on and doing this interview. We just set this up, 2 days ago? To do this. But I definitely appreciate you coming on the show. To wrap it up, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with you? And I'm going to have links in the description of this video as well on YouTube. But if folks want to find out about who Cyrus Webb is, how do they do that?
Very easy. CyrusWebb.com is the website. There you'll find all my social media. I'm most active on Twitter and Instagram. So you can find me at twitter.com/CyrusWebb or Instagram.com/CyrusWebbPresents. And Earl, I want to say to you, thank you for the opportunity for three reasons. One, because I'm so proud of you and all the great things that you're doing and the service you're offering, not only to the voiceover community, but I think anyone who's looking for an example as to what it takes to pursue a goal and dream. I mean, I know your journey and where you've come from and what you've been able to do. So I really appreciate you and applaud you. Second thing is I get to try out my brand new webcam with this. And I love it, and I will definitely be doing a review on it because I'm so excited about how clear it is, the volume and everything. So that's the side thing. But then also the third thing, Earl, because I think people need to know what's possible. Yeah. And I think whether you have a $20-$30 microphone, or if they're unfortunate enough to have $1,000 microphone like you have, they know that anything is possible if they're willing to do the work. And that's what I hope people get from this.
Well, thank you so much, Cyrus. And thank everyone for tuning in to this special edition of In the Booth with Earl Hall. We've got much more coming for you. So make sure that you're following me on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And also make sure you tick the bell so that you get notification when I go live or when I upload a video. Cyrus, hold on for me and I'll be right back. But thanks again so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.